Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining me today because, wow, we have an incredibly packed, fast-moving situation to decode. We are breaking down a highly chaotic and frankly, completely historic day of global news, June 10, 2026. By tracking the data, the official statements, and the timelines, we are going to figure out exactly how these global dominoes are falling together. We've got major military escalations, massive economic maneuvers, and critical humanitarian updates all happening at the exact same time. All right, let's jump right into our roadmap for today. We're covering 1. The Middle East escalation, 2. Global economic shifts, 3. Regional wars and unrest, and 4. Health and disasters. Starting us off with part 1, the Middle East escalation, and a very rapid exchange of fire. In literally just a matter of hours, we saw a massive exchange of fire that fundamentally altered the geopolitical landscape. Let's trace this exact tit-for-tat timeline. On orders from the White House, U.S. Central Command launched a huge wave of precision airstrikes. They targeted Iranian air defense batteries, communication centers, and radar hubs. We saw heavily geolocated explosions recorded on Kajim Island, as well as strategic coastal cities like Bandar Abbas. Now, retaliating almost immediately, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, launched coordinated drone and missile strikes targeting U.S. bases, hitting the 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain and major air bases in Kuwait. And then there's a third layer to all this. The Jordanian military successfully intercepted 5 Iranian ballistic missiles in their Azraq region, and Iranian state media explicitly claimed those missiles were aimed at the Muwafaq Salti airbase. Now, the absolute most crucial takeaway here boils down to a single phrase: closed until further notice. Formally tearing up past maritime agreements, the IRGC has completely shut down the Strait of Hormuz to all shipping traffic. And yes, that includes neutral commercial vessels. If you know anything about global shipping, you know the Strait of Hormuz is the absolute jugular vein of the world's energy supply. Shutting it down doesn't just make for flashy headlines, it fundamentally alters global maritime trade in an instant. This is exactly the kind of massive disruption that directly hits your wallet at the gas pump and the grocery store. And to really underscore the absolute severity of that closure, we have a confirmed count of 2 neutral oil tankers that Iranian forces actually hit for attempting to navigate the waterway without local authorization. So they aren't just making threats, they are enforcing this blockade with immediate kinetic action. Zooming out just a bit, we're seeing the regional spread of this tension. 2 other major flashpoints are happening concurrently. First, in southern Lebanon, the conflict along Israel's northern border intensified. Israeli airstrikes in Tyre killed at least 12 people. Tragically, first responders confirmed this included 2 on-duty paramedics navigating those strike zones. Second, we are seeing massive demonstrations of regional solidarity. Hundreds of protesters flooded the streets of Hezbollah-controlled southern Beirut in support of Iran, while a mirrored mass gathering was broadcast from the Houthi-controlled capital of Sana'a in Yemen. So, with the center of global oil literally cut off, it naturally begs a really critical question. How is the rest of the world reacting to this unprecedented energy bottleneck? When the oil stops flowing, the world has to scramble, which is a perfect pivot into our next topic. That brings us right into Section 2, Global Economic and Energy Shifts, focusing on securing corridors and digital finance. Well, leaders in Asia certainly aren't waiting around to find out what happens next. In direct response to the chaos in the Middle East, Japanese Prime Minister Sanaya Takaichi and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim met in Tokyo and formalized a landmark energy supply and Coast Guard cooperation agreement. Their explicit goal here is to ensure safe navigation and protect their trade corridors across the Indo-Pacific. Securing these routes is exactly what prevents the cost of your everyday consumer goods from completely skyrocketing. It's just a fascinating real-time example of how a military conflict in one hemisphere instantly accelerates security pacts in another. And you know, in times of massive physical trade disruption, digital and instant financial settlements become critical safe havens. Traditional finance is adopting fast. Japan's mega banks, MUFG, Sumitomo Mitsui, and Mizuho, just announced a joint initiative to issue a yen-denominated stablecoin this fiscal year. This isn't just some tech experiment either. It's designed specifically to settle instant digital stock and investment trades, streamlining massive amounts of financial capital when physical markets are highly volatile. But at the exact same time Japan's private banking sector is innovating, we have to note a critical domestic financial vulnerability. The Bank of Japan confirmed that their governor, Kazuo Ueda, was suddenly hospitalized with a hepatic cyst infection. Because of this, he's going to miss next week's highly anticipated monetary policy review. And in a moment of extreme global market volatility like we're seeing right now, missing the head of a major central bank adds a really significant layer of uncertainty. moving on to Section 3, regional wars and civil unrest. These are isolated conflicts, but they have major global reverberations. Now, looking at the fraught border situation in South Asia, we're seeing starkly contrasting realities of modern warfare reporting. Following precision airstrikes by the Pakistani military targeting insurgent cells, we have two completely different narratives emerging. On one side, Islamabad claims 26 Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, militants were eliminated. On the other side, the Afghan Taliban administration vehemently condemned the strikes, claiming that 13 civilians, including 11 children, were the actual casualties. It really highlights the deeply complex and incredibly tense nature of this border conflict. To give you a sense of the rapid-fire nature of global unrest today, 3 major incidents just boiled over across the map. In Eastern Europe, a coordinated drone swarm brought heavy maritime disruption to Ukraine's Odessa shipping hub, inflicting heavy structural damage on commercial merchant ships flying Barbados and Panama flags. Meanwhile, in Northern Ireland, intense anti-migrant rioting paralyzed central Belfast for a second day following public outrage over a recent violent stabbing. The situation forced police to deploy heavy water cannons. And in the Sudanese civil war, a horrific tragedy unfolded in El Obeid, where a rapid support forces drone struck a cemetery funeral procession, leaving 4 dead and 12 heavily injured. 3 different continents, 3 different catalysts, all boiling over on the exact same day. And finally, Section 4, Health Crises and Fatal Disasters, looking at tragedies beyond the battlefield. Biosecurity alarms are absolutely ringing right now. The Democratic Republic of the Congo's health ministry confirmed that their current Ebola epidemic has officially expanded into a new area, the Chomia Health Zone of Ituri province. The human toll is already severe. We're looking at 635 confirmed cases against 127 fatalities. When a highly infectious virus jumps to new geographic zones like this, global health organizations literally have to pivot their containment strategies overnight. We're concluding today's factual reporting with some deeply tragic news out of Azad Kashmir. A Pakistani Mi-17 military transport helicopter crashed during takeoff near Muzaffarabad. Defense officials have attributed the disaster entirely to an unforeseen technical fault and tragically confirmed that there were absolutely no survivors among anyone on board. So this really brings us to the end of our explainer today, and it leaves us with one incredibly vital question. As regional dominoes fall, from military strikes closing vital shipping lanes to sudden health crises and local unrest, how fragile are the global systems we rely on every single day? Everything we looked at today, from energy prices to digital currency to public health, is deeply, fundamentally interconnected. I'd love for you to reflect on that interconnected fragility. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this structured look at the facts empowered you with a clearer understanding of our complex world, and I absolutely can't wait to explore more of these critical issues with you next time.